everybody, it's Martyn Dangerfield. How are you? I'm doing another RCIRCLE Talks, the cunningly named thing where we go and talk to people. So today I'm joined with Martyn Redstone. As I promised Martyn, I wasn't going to talk too much. I was going to get him to talk a lot about what he's been up to. So over to you, Martyn. You're probably best known for being the chatbot anorak that everybody loves. We won't take that out, by the way. Over to you, Martyn. Introduce yourself, and then I'll ask you loads of questions.
Yeah, thanks, Martyn, and thanks for inviting me on. Yeah, you're right. I am thought of as the chatbot person. They call me the chatbot guy, the chatbot boy, chatbot guide. I've never been called a chatbot anorak before, so that's a new one. I'm going to put that in the list. Yeah, absolutely.
I explained to a German this week actually what an anorak was, because they don't have the same word, and I said it's that there is a lovely little definition off Wikipedia of it's British slang. It means, somebody who understands something and quite niche. Then it's a little bit mean after that, like sort of cut that bit. I'm just saying, just niche, because you're a chatbot man.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. So what have I been up to during the last 6 months? Well, it's been a bit of a crazy 6 months, I suppose. So I have been up to a few different things. I suppose the best thing I can probably do to summarize that journey is, look, everybody went through a rapid, you can probably hear my kids screaming in the background. That's fine. We'll keep that in as well. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Somebody's not happy. I don't know. So I'm a very responsible father as well. So everybody had a really, really rubbish start to all of this. Yeah, it was one of those things where nobody saw it coming. And I always say that you either, the whole point of human of the way that humans work is when something shocking happens that's unexpected, you've either got this fight or flight type of mentality. And for me, I'll be honest with you, I was already on the back foot when this all happened, because I'd recently had finished a contract with a tech supplier, and so I was already looking for something new to do. Had a couple of things lined up, which, like everything else, just fell away. So already on the back foot, but it didn't mean that I was going to just crawl under a rock and wait for it all to kind of tide over. So I got back out there, and I started doing a lot of different things, and where that's ended up was a couple of months of pain, couple of months of not only homeschooling but also searching for jobs and searching for and I was willing to do anything. I even applied for delivery drivers at Yodel at one point. Still get lovely follow-ups from them, from the recruitment team there, but lots and lots of different things. Well, we can talk to Ben Gledhill about that. When he was there, he put a chatbot in. But
I just wonder if that was your experience, isn't it? So some sort of irony. Like, I'm at my lowest point. I'm going to do it. I'm going to talk to it was a chatbot. Oh, it could be that.
I'm just going to spend my whole life just talking to chatbots. Yeah, exactly. But actually, what it meant was I was able to start thinking about what I can do, what I can't do, what I like doing, what I don't like doing, blah 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 blah. Where that's got me to is an interesting situation where I'm doing a few different things that are really, really cool, really interesting, really exciting. So it's probably best to talk about what I'm doing now and where that journey has led to, really. So I am still doing the stuff that I've always loved doing, which is tech and digital transformation in recruitment businesses, recruitment agencies. So I'm working with an Irish recruitment business called FRS, where I am overseeing their digital transformation. That's really exciting, really great team, some really interesting things they're doing as well. I'm also working with a recruitment tech business called Holaroo, and what Holaroo are is a social platform for an organization where the whole point of Holaroo is using active messaging, using community building. You can build long-term relationships with different talent communities. Quite specifically, things like onboarding, alumni management, talent pipelining, internal mobility, referrals, all those different talent communities you can build really, really worthwhile, meaningful long-term relationships with. For me, it was a no-brainer. It's all about how to communicate well and how to build relationships with candidates, with talent. And for me, that's always been my interest, and that's where the whole chatbot thing came from, was how to communicate effectively and efficiently with people to build those relationships. So it's a bit of a no-brainer doing some work for Holaroo. And what that work is a mixture of sales, a mixture of productization, and looking at different ways that the product can be used within the talent acquisition process.
Is that moving you further away from just being the chatbot queen, king, whatever we're going to call you? Is there a bit more to it? Because that's a broader messaging conversation, isn't it, rather than just pure chatbot?
Absolutely, absolutely. But that's only 2 of the 4 things that I'm doing. So
yeah, I'm no Parkinson. I realise this now. He would
listen. No, that's fine. That's fine. It leads on quite nicely. The lovely thing about Holaroo has been that it's taken me back to some really early stages of my career. So one of the things that I've been doing there is helping redefine Holaroo as a platform that works really well in the early careers and emerging talent space. And it works perfectly because people that are now having to digitalize their processes when it comes to early careers and emerging talent, they need something that is a space that is available to those people that are being brought into that organization. It's sometimes the first experiences they've had in the working world, and being able to, and so I started off my working life as an apprentice. So I know what it's like in terms of building careers, building relationships with people internally, with your cohort, with your other apprentices. So being able to digitalize that and being able to build relationships with people around you in the organization, I think it's like the perfect way of doing it, using a platform like Holaroo. So for me, it's been really exciting. However, yeah, so I've got a couple of other things that I'm doing. The first one is, like, as you said, chatbot king, chatbot guy, chatbot how did you say it? Anorak or something like that. Anorak.
Chatbot queen as well. I've written some other
queen. You just said, yeah, that's
fine. Keep writing the word chatbot and other things. Chatbot, dingo. I don't know. This word chatbot. Maybe that's where we're going wrong. So we're talking earlier on about getting more viewers for the RCIRCLE channel. Maybe it's what we should do, is competition of what word goes with chatbot to best describe you.
I think so. We could have a competition. I could have a competition. I mean,
we could win time with you as some sort of, I don't know, that doesn't work out. That sounds wrong.
Let's not talk about that. Yeah.
Given the conversation
that's for a different day. Wrong. Yeah, and maybe when we're allowed to go and all have drinks, we can talk about that kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, the point being, so over the last 6 months, I've had a lot of people working with me on the whole chatbot piece as well, where I've done some consultancy work. I've done some bespoke chatbot design for people and lots of other things. But where that's led me to is, for the last 6 months, I've actually been working with a small group of people, and we've been nurturing a new recruitment technology platform that is a chatbot platform. We only released it to the market last week, actually. It's a business called AI Recruiter, and it's AIrecruiter.com if anyone wants to check it out. There we go, plugging right there. So basically, it's really quite clever. So it's specifically designed for recruitment businesses. It's a chatbot platform, but look, chatbot platforms are all about, lots of different chatbot platforms do lots of different things. And what we've decided to do is think about how recruitment businesses can use a chatbot platform to grow. And there's certain things that a recruitment business needs to grow. The first thing, they always glow if they're doing well, I suppose. Yeah, absolutely. The first thing is they need good candidates, but more importantly, they need jobs to fill with those candidates. So how we've designed AI Recruiter, first and foremost, it's conversational AI, which is a sexy term of saying it's got natural language processing in the back end. So it has a more conversational interface. It's not just a decision tree based chatbot. And we've used that technology. We've used my experience in designing good conversations that meet people's objectives. And we've got a really good tech team who have got experience building recruitment technology products as well. And we have designed a platform that can have a conversation with a candidate, the usual conversations, helping people find jobs, helping people apply, registering for that agency on their website, all those kind of conversations that help people save time. But within that conversation, we've designed a specific sub-conversation, I suppose is the best way of putting it, that finds out if people know about jobs that are being recruited for. So what that means is we can then start extracting that information and delivering hot leads to recruitment consultants to say, this job is out there.
So I should tell you, it's always about me, isn't it, these things? When I first went into business, I was an agency, I had a recruitment agency. I've been in IT for a long time, and me and my mate Matt set up a recruitment firm. And he on day one, wasn't quite day one. Day one was getting a coffee machine and a giant football table that weighed a ton, and a fridge to keep the milk in for the coffee machine.
All the important things. Yeah.
And then this is like day 18 probably, when we said, right, actually going to do this. And he produced a sheet, which was, I won't say the name of the agency he used to work for because they fell out with him, but it was a sheet which was, that sort of almost like a check-in sheet. It was all the sort of notes that you take as a recruiter, but the bottom was always, give me 3 names, either 3 names of who do you work for, because obviously you're looking for a job, so I'm going to go to them one day. And what other work? Where else are you interviewing right now? That. So you've got a chatbot that does that.
Yeah, I mean that's the point. I was my background. 16 years ago, I started working in a recruitment agency. So my background is exactly that. The team of people that are involved in AI Recruiter are all from an agency background. And us old school people who've been doing it for years, that's exactly what we were doing. Every time you were talking to a candidate, get leads, get leads, get leads. So we have designed a chatbot that does that for the new generation of recruiters and takes a lot of the load off of them. I think the challenge is that those it's a difficult conversation to have, and so it takes that away from them.
Well, it's because I always think it's because candidates are now savvy to it. I think yes. At the time they go, "Oh, we're just interested." It's because they're interested, so they don't double book me for the interview for this amazing job they're going to find me.
Yeah,
it's not that at all. It's just I want to know where else you're going, because I'm also going to go. You're in that. You're interviewing at these same things. I can find other candidates like you for the job that you've come to talk to me about, etc., etc. So yeah, but I think candidates get that now, whereas I don't think they used to.
Well, they absolutely right. I think there's people are more cynical, they're more savvy. But at the same time, what's really, really interesting and what our market testing has found is that people are actually more open with a chatbot than they are with a person. So especially if you design the conversation well, they are very, very happy to release that information. Not only that, but obviously we ask for referrals as well. So do you know good people that are looking? Obviously right now everyone knows somebody that's looking. So there's a few different things that we've designed, but ultimately we've designed a platform that's about accelerating growth in a recruitment business rather than just the bog standard chatbot stuff, which is all about saving a bit of time in your week.
And how's that? I mean, I realise it's early days, isn't it? You've only gone out to market in the last week or so. How's that been received? Because I realise agencies right now are all desperately looking for something. They want that lead generation bit, don't they? There's a fear of missing out all the time, that we've gone through a period of many organisations not hiring, people being on furlough, some not even having somebody to talk to in that organisation. They perhaps used to go and talk to their head of recruitment or their head of whatever, and they're not there. So yeah, how because I can see the cynic in me. Maybe it's because I'm, as I said to somebody yesterday, I'm a bit anti-agency. I'm not actually sure that's true. I'm anti-agency of a certain type. I can see I can see why I'd want that. I see why I'd want that probably. Is it just, well, some agencies go, brilliant, this is the first step to completely automating our end-to-end process. I don't actually have to have a human involved, because there's a load of conversation about that. A dozen people talk about that. For me personally, I'm actually not too fussed, but I think I said to somebody the other day, I like hotels where I don't actually talk to anybody anymore. I love a touch screen. I just put my thing, ding, 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 there's my key, off I go. I didn't have that whole breakfast between 7:30, 10:30 and da-da-da. I don't care. I don't want it. So to me, a chatbot is also the future. If I could miss out having to talk to a recruiter of a certain type, I'm in every day. I mean, love it. I have a little chat anytime you like. I say everything because I don't have to talk to anybody. I'm talking to. I know that I'm chatting online.
And that's why self-serve. That's why chatbots are the future. I mean, I talk about self-serve in terms of being able to do a lot more. But you think about exactly that self-serve. You think about a supermarket. 5, 6, 7 years ago, when all these self-serve checkouts were starting, everybody was like, oh, no, I'd rather go to a till with a person. And now if you've got a basket of shopping, you're going to go straight to the self-serve. And that's the whole concept of chatbots.
Out on you. And I think that's the thing. So yeah. So do you think, so being the I don't know, I consider myself a bit of a tech analyst. I've never actually in depth the tech. How far do you take that? How far? So you start off with a conversation. What next? How far down the line can you automate until awkwardly I've got to hit? So for a recruitment agency called Jack or Chloe, random, that there are every recruitment agency has them.
I'm sure they do. My thought process behind that is the so I call it was a concept that I started to talk about over the last 6 months because it was quite a topical concept in terms of flattening the curve. If you remember back to that kind of messaging, I know it changes every week, government messaging, but we talked about flattening the curve 6 months ago, and that's what I've always said about flattening the conversation curve. So if we look at a recruitment business and we look at where those kind of peaks in conversation volume happen, they're usually right at the very start of the interaction with people, screening, scheduling, asking lots of questions, etc. And that's where I see the impact of chatbots being bigger on the business. I think once you get past that initial engagement where somebody's communicating in a warm fashion, that's when it has to be handed over to a recruiter, because ultimately they're the ones that know their client well. They're the ones that know their candidate base well. They're the ones that can have a more in-depth conversation, and that's where they should shine, as far as I'm concerned. Finding information. So this whole job leads thing, which is what we call it, job leads is designed so that the lead information is pulled, but then it goes to the recruiter to do something with it. Ultimately, if you really wanted to, you could develop a platform that pulls the lead information and then goes straight back out to that lead. But at the same time, does that person at the end of that phone call, who is the prospect, want to be robo-dialed? Basically, no, they don't. They want to speak to a real person, and that real person doesn't want to then spend a lot of time just like we used to do several years ago, open the phone book and start calling through local businesses. They want to have hot leads coming to them and make the most of their time as well. So that's the whole point of that.
Do you think it would have to change the skill set of the recruiter? Because that's, for me, I said a lot of my work's in-house. I haven't been near an agency for a while. It's years, and I said that's probably through cynicism and whatever else. But there is still a certain breed, because agencies have got to do two things, haven't they? They've got to qualify a candidate, they've got to qualify their client, they've got to make sure there's a transaction somewhere to get some money, whatever shape or form that is. I don't really care about that. But does that mean that recruiter's got to be, just change their behaviours a little bit, or is it actually they're still the same old thing? Because almost you're feeding them some of that first bit up front. I realise that this will probably account for a chunk of their leads. It's not all of their needs, is it?
Exactly.
That's the whole point. But for a large agency, potentially that's hundreds, isn't it? I think about that.
Hundreds upon hundreds, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's a good point. I do believe that recruiters have changed their behaviour anyway. I think most recruitment businesses now understand that they are a B2B and a B2C organisation, and what that means is that it's not just the way it used to be many years ago. Now it's about good branding, good marketing, good messaging. It's about being a good advocate for your client, being a good advocate for your candidate. So a lot of the mundane kind of salesy stuff that we used to do years ago is probably going to be dying a death with the new breed of recruiters coming anyway, who are more consultative, more customer focused, more client focused, and in terms of both types of customers. And so I think that being able to take away some of this more repetitive salesy stuff, the whole kind of go and smash the phones type thing, it's days of yonder. So being able to have a machine or a chatbot doing that for you, it's transformational.
I was thinking about the agency, last agency I did spend any time when, they'd have power hour. They'd have power hour at 9:30.
Exactly.
They stood up and made outbound calls. That was their deal, and they'd find a mixture of client and or candidate, and do the one or two things. They'd either go be pitching clients, and they spend the rest of the day looking for candidates to throw at that client as quickly as possible, or they'd find candidates and spec them in somewhere. And that's still really comfortable, I think, for a lot of agencies. Even now, I think Be interesting to see how they adapt to new technology, new opportunities. I suspect there's an element of, again, cynicism with everything you've talked about. For me, I get it. I can see why. I can see if I was running a pure agency, oh yeah, okay, I'm missing out. I'm also actually, if I'm having a chatbot conversation, it means I'm getting to candidates when the candidates want to talk. So that's isn't it? That's the lead. I mean, all the stuff you've ever talked to me about in the past. That's the one bit that sort of stands out to me. That a proper conversation with a chatbot that's actually not just going through tick 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 tick, but there's actually a bit of to and from. Could be 24/7, 365 days a year. It doesn't really matter. And for an agency, that's got to be worth its weight in gold. It means I'm capturing information even when all my consultants are fast asleep.
Exactly. And they're coming in the morning. They're opening up AI Recruiter, and they've got a range of leads that they can start working on. Some might not be appropriate for them, and that's fine. But there might be some golden nuggets in there.
Yeah, as you say, there will be something that it's a lead they wouldn't have got otherwise. It's actually
exactly,
isn't it?
Exactly.
That's amazing. That's very cool. And do you see? Is that where you think you're going to be spending more time? Because that's very agency led. That's not where we started conversations when we used to talk. It was all very much chatbots. How you use them in talent acquisition. How you use them in whatever. Do you see? Have you had any recent in-house conversations where saying actually we do want to optimize? Because I keep thinking people will be using chatbots more.
Yeah,
I wonder if it's an evolution. They haven't quite found their groove yet. That doesn't quite work yet.
Yeah, and that's very true. There's certainly been, if we look at that kind of Gartner hype cycle of, hype, the peak of hype and the valley of disillusionment. There's certainly been that with the chatbots over the last 3 years, and we're certainly we've hit that valley of disillusionment. We've seen that with a slower. A slower uptake of the technology than everyone kind of thought. But I've certainly seen that uptake in technology happening, especially over the last 6 months, where people need to do more with less. And with the larger numbers of applications that are coming through, having the ability to screen those applicants on the front end in volume conversationally is a huge no-brainer. So I've been working as well with a business called Jenna, based out in Israel, who do automated screening through chat, through voice, all using natural language processing, and being able to deliver up a score of where those candidates score against the role. Obviously, some of their own internal design algorithms and AI going on there, but ultimately, that is the conversation I'm having with in-house at the minute: is how do we do more with less? And when I talk about with more, I talk about more applications. With less, unfortunately, we've seen TA teams being let go, being made redundant, being put on furlough. So they're needing to deal with more applications in a higher volume, potentially sometimes with less people. So those are the conversations I've been having with the in-house piece, and being able to wrap that up with being able to then invite people into a community like Holaroo. And that's where I'm getting to as a journey, as a candidate journey, being able to front end converse with a representative of your brand in a chatbot, and then being pushed through to a platform like Holaroo where you can be nurtured, engaged, and communicated with continuously. That's where that whole kind of journey from a candidate perspective for me is like the perfect candidate journey, because you're having conversations to start with, and then you're bringing them into a space where they can continue engaging with that business in a very worthwhile.
You could talk to the candidate. I'm amazed that a number of organisations still don't see it that. They still want, I've got this job, I need to fill it now. And actually that's sort of true, but that might be the job they always fill, and that they actually should be building this magic pipeline of candidates to talk to over a period of time.
Yeah.
And yet, for whatever reason, people just don't. But I'm amazed. I mean, it's good news for me, I guess, because I get to keep talking to people about, what do you think? Why is that? Why are you doing that? It's actually the question I tend to ask is why. There's that awkward thing, isn't it? I forgot who named it, isn't there? There's a pattern, isn't it? You keep asking why, and eventually you get to the why, and you get to the real answer. And I can't remember the name of it. It's a posh name for the 5 questions you always keep asking why.
Yeah.
There's an element of that with this, isn't there?
Absolutely.
Why wouldn't you do this, or why wouldn't you do that? I mean, certainly my experience talking to in-house people recently, you're absolutely right. They're saturated. So those organisations that are still hiring, in some cases are getting 3 times, 4 times, 5 times the applicants they used to get.
And more, yeah.
And more. And yeah, depending on what space they're in. Equally, it's interesting, they often struggle to be able to know what they've got because they can't see them. They can't physically, they're in the bowels of a slightly shitty ATS.
Yeah.
So there's always this perception they also need to be going out and asking people. And that's not working so well for them either right now. People who are working and sat somewhere are probably staying there more often than they were, partly because they're not quite sure what's happening next. I can see what I said. I can see why automation of some of this stuff that makes sense. It's cool. So that means you told me in the beginning that you were really super busy. Does that mean 2021 doesn't look too awful because you feel like you've got something? Sounds like you've put the effort into the thing that you've suddenly gone. You've spent years almost building.
Yeah.
I've got this knowledge about chatbots, and take this the right way because I've known you for a long time.
Yeah.
You used to talk about chatbots way before anybody else was ever talking about it, and I remember going, "Okay, whatever."
Yeah, you and everybody else.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because you go, I get it. I think the first time I can't remember when it was. It would have been years ago. I remember seeing it was talking about you're an old school recruiter. I'm an old school recruiter. I was talking about palms. I think you probably do as well. So price, availability, location, motivation, skills. Yeah, same old thing. And I remember I've talked to in-house teams about that recently. Like, what are you talking about, Mark? I have no idea. That's our first screening, isn't it? I want to know that I can afford you. If you're looking for a job paying £1 million and this one's only paying 10 quid, then there's just no point. We'll park you for something else. I do want to know if you're available, if you're looking now or looking for the future, all that stuff. But that was I think that was the first time I saw you effectively had a chatbot that did palms.
Yeah.
Because it's sequential, isn't it?
Exactly.
Actually, for me, that was almost the point where going, I can see if I might want that actually, because I asked that anyway. I almost want that up front.
Exactly.
Then have a conversation about, we can park all this other stuff. Tell me about you. Let's focus on motivation and skills. I think that's where recruiters should be diving in.
Exactly. Yeah.
This fits in with this organisation. Is that mix of this is what we're hiring for, this is what you look like.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
All that transactional data capture, because that's all it is. It doesn't have to be a recruiter's job, and that's the challenge, is taking that away from the recruiters. You're right. I've been talking about chatbots probably longer than most people in the industry. But yeah, it's been a good opportunity to really hone in on that niche. And yeah, so 2021, whilst who knows what's going to happen in 2021, and nobody saw this coming in 2020. I'm hoping that as we see more people accelerating their digital transformation, Twilio came out with a report recently that said that 2,500 enterprise CTO decision makers have said their 6 to 7 year plans are being accelerated. Their digital transformation plans are being accelerated by about 6 to 7 years because of this, and that's what we're seeing. So if that continues, then I think that most people will be looking at some form of technology adoption continuously over the next 12, 18 months.
I think you're right. I mean, again, I wish I had a crystal ball. I knew what's happening. Certainly people I talk to, so we're accepting now that we don't know what we don't know, but undoubtedly we need to be almost that flexibility. It says, if we made everything digital, so it works online or not, feels like that's the place to be. The old school days of getting together and meeting this and doing that. I was speaking to somebody this morning about, they had a very traditional recruitment experience. At some point, like everywhere else, you troll into a place and meet people and see people and do stuff. That's all been thrown out the window completely. It's all online, but making that engaging and getting the same feeling is quite hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's probably the future for you as well. I'll tell you what, I've always been told to quit while I'm ahead. I'm also conscious I said I wouldn't keep you very long.
That's fine.
So for now, I will say, Martyn, thank you very much. It's been great to join us on RCIRCLE. If you've made it this far on this video in RCIRCLE, there's loads of others as well. You'll get a little link at the end of it. It says, you should subscribe, if I could say that word, and also recommend another one of these that you should go and see. So there's going to be a group of these videos with people like Martyn talking about their experiences. But for now, thank you very much.
Martyn, thank you. It's been a real pleasure. Lovely to talk to you again. My glasses, I think my ears are at different levels.